All right, so hi everyone. Today we will discuss some tips on how to save your battery for both iPhone and Android, and we'll discuss some general rules of what to do when you're out and about using your phone, charging habits, myths on battery drainage. And if you have a question, you can always unmute yourself or you could say it in the chat. So I'm just gonna mute everyone for now, and then you could always unmute yourself when if you have a question. Okay, so the first thing I want to discuss are two terms that we should get familiar with. And the two terms are battery life and battery lifespan. So when we think of our battery life, that is the amount of time our phone runs before it needs to recharge. So battery life is just basically the number that we always see on our phone when it says either like our phone is at 50%, 60%, 80%, right? We have like a we can tell what the number is on our phone. Um, for some iPhones, though, it may not tell you the number exactly. It's a feature that you have to turn on. So I could show you later how you could turn that on so you know exactly how much battery percentage you have. But that's our battery life. And then battery lifespan is the amount of time our battery lasts until it needs to be replaced. So that's basically the physical battery inside of your phone, right? If you're someone here today that's had a phone for the past 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or so on, right? The battery in your phone is not going to be 100% charged, right? Think of like batteries when you put it in the remote, right? The AA batteries. Those batteries do not last for years and years and years. Eventually, you have to replace it. And the same goes with an iPhone. So usually, if you feel like your phone is starting to act a bit slower, or you feel like your battery is constantly draining, that could be because that physical battery in your phone, it needs to be replaced. And for iPhones, I know for sure that after the battery drop, the physical battery in your phone drops to 79%, you can get it replaced in the Apple Store. And I'll show you later today how you can actually check what your physical battery in your phone, what's the percentage on that. So that's not the regular battery life that you have every single day when you charge your phone. I'm specifically talking about the physical battery in both an iPhone and an Android. You can see the performance of it and see what's the percentage on it. And we'll talk about that shortly. Okay, so we'll talk about that shortly, but let's just talk a little bit about power saver mode and low battery mode. So if your phone or Android needs to, you kind of need to save that battery for a little longer. Maybe you're out and about and you know you're going to be outside for a while and you know you won't be able to charge your phone, right? You can put your phone on power saver mode or low battery mode for iPhones. And it is a way to extend the battery life. Usually with iPhones, once your battery level goes down to 20%, you get a message on your phone that says if you want to put it into low power mode. So let's see if I could get you guys a picture. Hold on. I'm gonna get you guys a picture so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, so as you can see in this picture, right, you probably, if you have an iPhone, you probably have gotten this message before that when your phone drops to 20%, you get this on the screen that says whether or not you want to go into low power mode. So this is what I'm referring to by low battery or low or power mode. So let's just go back to the presentation. So, right, with low battery mode or low power mode, it is a good thing to use, especially when you want to save your battery, but it's definitely not something I would recommend to have on 24/7, right? So low power mode or low battery mode should only be used if you're out and about and you know you can't charge your phone. It's really not good to have it on all the time. So the reason why it's not good to have low power mode all the time is that it's going to typically reduce your phone's battery performance, and it would actually make your phone run a bit slower because it's trying to save that battery. And if you constantly have it on low power mode, your phone is going to get used to acting a bit slower. So I wouldn't recommend keeping that on. You should only turn it on if it's on 20%, 10%, or so on. Also, with low power mode on, right, you may miss some important details of like emails, notifications, text messages, because when you do have battery saver on, whether that's on an iPhone or an Android, right? What you're doing is telling your phone to act slower. So it's going to turn off something very crucial in our phones, which is background sync or background refresh. So all of our smartphones are constantly, updating and refreshing in the background. That's how we get an email so quickly sent to our phones, or our text messages get sent so quickly to someone else because our phones are constantly refreshing. However, when you have battery saver on, the email tends to come a bit slower to us. Like we'll still get it, but not as quickly as it used to. Same with a text message or sending a text message. So I would say to only, I'll show you in the next slide how to turn it on, but I would say to only turn it on if you really need to. Do not put it on 24/7. Does anybody have questions so far? Okay. So if you have an iPhone, right, in order to turn low power mode, you would have to go to settings. And in settings, you could scroll down and find the section called battery. And you will get this page that you see right here on the screen where you can actually turn on low power mode. And if you turn it on right at the top, left right-hand corner, sorry, your battery will turn yellow. And that's kind of how you know that low power mode is on. So once again, if you go to settings, battery, you'll get this screen here. And at the top, it says low power mode. And the green means on, and you could switch it on if you feel like your battery is dying at the moment, you need to save it. But if you're someone here today and your phone's on 100%, 90%, there's no need to turn it on. Any questions on that? Okay.
Excuse me, the things that you're saying, do they apply in any fashion to iPads as well as the phones?
Yeah, so I would say anything I say here today will be for also iPads and tablets. So an iPad also has low power mode in their settings as well. And everything I said before, like how it refreshes, and even the tips that I'll say later on today will also apply to tablets and iPads. Okay. And if you have an Android or Samsung Galaxy, right, the same thing, you want to go to settings, find the section that says battery and charging, and you will get a page like this. And you want to look for battery saver, where you could turn it on or turn it off. Um, I think we have a question. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. On that battery page that we just turned to, there's something called optimized battery charging. Could you explain that?
Yeah, okay. So for iPhones, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so for I'll get back to Android if anybody has a question on Android, but for iPhones, the person is referring to the section when you tap on battery health. So if you're on settings and you go to battery, we have this page right here, and we have low power mode, but then underneath it, it says battery health. And it brings us to another page. I don't have a picture of it, but if you're following with me on the phone, it brings us to another page where we can see all these different types of things like maximum capacity, peak performance, and optimized battery charging. So optimized battery charging basically learns from when the time we charge and how long we are charging our phone. So later on today, I'm going to explain it more a bit, but it's not necessary to keep charge our phones all the way to 100%. In a way, like if you just charge the phone to 80 or 90%, it's fine, because we're constantly stressing our physical battery in our phone if we charge it all the way to 100%. And for some people, right, they tend to charge their phones overnight, which is not good. But with optimized battery charging, it will learn our battery habits or charging habits. So in a way, if our phone kind of knows whether or not we left it in the plug while we were charging. So basically, it will stop to 80%, and then it knows, like, if you wake up at a certain time every day, or if you have your phone charging at a certain time every day, it kind of waits till that time when you're about to take your phone off the plug to reach to 100%. I don't know if that makes a bit sense to you, but basically, like, our smartphone kind of knows or tries to pick up on the habits on when we're charging, and it will wait to a certain time period to reach to 100%. Does that make a bit sense?
So it's a feature that is recommended to keep on.
I keep it on, especially I would say if you're someone here today that especially charges your phone overnight, which you shouldn't, this would be a good thing to turn on, because then your phone kind of stops in the middle of the night. It doesn't actually charge it. It stays at 80%. And then when it knows, like, when you wake up, it'll reach to 100%. Because your phone shouldn't constantly be charging overnight for hours. So this feature kind of stops that for you. It kind of stops the battery. So once again, for anyone here, right? Because I didn't have a picture of it. What I was talking about is in here where it says battery health. It's a feature called optimized battery charging. So yeah, I have it turned on. I use it because I'm usually someone that charges my phone at the same time every day. So for me, it's a good feature to have. And if you're someone here today that kind of charges your phone every day, like in the morning or a certain time in the afternoon, it'd probably be a good thing to turn on as well. So for those that have Android, right, that feature I was just talking about, I don't think it exists there, but I could be wrong. But it does have battery saver mode, which was the topic we were discussing, where you could keep your phone on low power mode to save some battery. It's either called battery saver for Android or power saving mode, depending on the type of Android you have. Once again, if you go to settings, battery, and then on that screen, you will see either a feature called battery saver that you can tap on and press on, or you can click on something that says power saving mode.
Tabitha?
Yes.
Hello, I'm sorry I was late. I couldn't get my PC to operate right. So are you saying that keeping optimized battery charging on, in other words, keeping it green all the time is a good practice?
Yes. So when you turn that feature on, your phone is going to remember your charging habits. So it doesn't constantly stress your battery out. Instead, if you're someone that charges your phone for hours, it will learn to kind of stop at 80%, so it doesn't stress the battery.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so another tip that I want to give you guys is updating your phone. So when we update our phone, or I like to call it our operating system, right? It can, in a way, save our battery. There are times, right? If you had a desktop in the past or even a laptop, we all know that we get updates pushed out to our systems and we have to update our computers. It's the same thing with phones and iPads, right? We constantly have to update them because sometimes um eventually, there's like a software bug, so like a little glitch that could happen, right? And sometimes these glitches can affect battery performance. So it is a good practice to check if your phone is up to date, and you don't have to charge it during this presentation, but it's always good to make sure it's up to date, at the ending and charge it. Because if you try to update it now, it'll probably kick you off of the Zoom meeting. So I wouldn't do it right now. But let's
Excuse
yes.
me, how do you go about checking if phone needs an update?
I'm gonna show you right now.
Okay,
Okay, so we're gonna show you for both, I have a slides for both Apple and Android. So with Apple devices, whether you have an iPad today or an iPhone, you're gonna follow these steps. The first step is your settings icon. So that's the silver gear app on your phone. You're gonna scroll down a bit and find the word general. And then at the top of the screen is going to say software update. And if you click on that, you're going to see whether or not your phone is going to either show you two things. Something to update, right? Is going to say update now or update tonight. Or it's going to say your iOS system is up to date. If you see something on the screen, then yes, you have to update it. So once again, you go to settings, you're going to scroll down a bit and find the word general. And at the top, it should say software update. And that's for both iPads as well. Any questions?
Tabitha?
Yes.
Yes, by going to automatic update, does that update the phone? Or do I have to hit unload, download and install?
You have to hit download and install.
Thank you.
Or it may say update now for some people as well. But just wait until after the Zoom because your phone might turn off to update. Okay. And for Android devices, right, we're gonna also go to settings. And we are gonna click on where it says system. Sorry, I don't wanna go too fast. We're gonna go to settings. We're gonna scroll all the way down until we find the word system. And in there, it should say system update, where we can make sure and check that our phone is up to date as well. Any questions from Android people on here?
And after you click on system update, is that the last thing you have to do on the Android phone, or is it something additional step?
It should say either like update or install once you click on that. If you don't see anything, then it's probably, your phone, it'll say your phone is up to date. Okay. Yeah, you see, for the person that just asked, you might get something like this where it says download and install for those that have Android, if you have an update. Okay. I'm good.
If you do these things over,
Uh-huh.
the phone, the iPad usually says do it overnight. So if you install it overnight, then it doesn't jazz up or stress your battery.
So no, because it's only gonna take like 20 minutes. So, and sometimes for a lot of our new iPhone updates, it does recommend us having it charged because it takes a lot of the battery. And for some people that have like older phones, it's recommended to keep it on the plug while updating. So in that case, don't worry about that because this presentation is more so like habits you're doing constantly. If it's just like a small update and you need to keep your phone charged while it's updating, that's completely fine. Okay, I'm going to save this part for the ending of the presentation because it's a bit a little lengthy and it might take up a lot of the time in the question. So we'll get back to this, but background app refresh is another feature that saves battery, but we'll get to it after. It's a lot of steps to do and I still have other slides to go to. Okay, so charging habits, right? This is also very, very important. So like I've been saying, right, do not charge your phone or tablet overnight. In cases where, you need to update your phone overnight, yes, that's fine to have it plugged in because that's a once in a rare moon. It's not like your phone is updating every single day, but you shouldn't be charging your phone or tablet every single day. If you're someone here today that does it, you may want to stop that habit. If you're someone that does it like ritually all the time, at the ending of the presentation, I'll show you how we can check our battery health. You probably saw it, if you went to where it said optimized battery, you probably saw what your battery health was, but we'll talk about it again. If you are someone that's constantly charging your phone or tablet overnight, it is going to physically degrade the battery in your iPhone and Android. And eventually, over time, you may need to get it replaced. Another thing, right? Do not use your phone while it's charging. So if you're someone here today that's watching the Zoom presentation right now, and your phone is also plugged into the wall, that's not a good thing to do, right? Because when your phone is charging, and you're on playing games or on Zoom or whatever you're doing as well, your phone is constantly competing to figure out what it needs to do. Should it actually charge your phone, or should it actually use its battery to let you go on Zoom or to make a phone call or so on? In the best case, is just leave your phone on the charge, give it an hour or so, and come back. If you know you're about to have a Zoom meeting, right? You're going to participate in a class, try to charge it before, but don't try to do the same thing at once, because things like Zoom, watching YouTube videos, watching Netflix, that drains a lot of battery because those are large applications, right? We're using our camera, we're using our microphone, even making phone calls that could drain our battery. And if we're also charging our phone, right, the phone is competing to see how to use its battery. Another thing, right, you don't have to charge your phone from 0 to 100%. So if you're someone here today that waits until your phone is at 1% to finally charge it, that's also not a good practice to keep doing, I would say. You are stressing out the battery even more, and once again, shortening its lifespan. Because if you think about it, if you're constantly waiting till your phone is on 1% to charge it, the phone is going to kind of start glitching in a way, because the phone is waiting and waiting and waiting to get its charged. Personally, for me, if my phone is on 30% or even like 40, 41, I start to plug it in. And even like, we know that our phones, it takes a bit of a while to charge unless we have a fast charger. So if you're waiting all the way to 0%, you're keeping your phone on the charger for longer, possibly three hours or so. So it's important to, I would say 30% is a good range to finally plug it in. Here it says 50% or less. I don't really wait. 50% is fine, especially for like newer phones, because 50% can last another 4 to 5 hours. So it really depends on the phone you have and how long you had the phone to determine when you're gonna put it on the charger. But so if you're someone here today that has the phone for like the last 7, 8 years, maybe, yeah, you need to put your phone when it's on 50% because the battery dies so quickly. But if you have a brand new iPhone or Android, you shouldn't be charging your phone when it's at 70 or 80%. And then lastly, right, always use the charger that came with the phone, that came with the tablet or the laptop. Please do not use your tablet's charger for older iPhones, especially like iPhones that are like, I would say the iPhone 6, 7, or 8, because you're using a charger that's a bit too powerful for that phone. If your phone is like iPhone 11, 12, 13, that's perfectly fine. You could use the iPad charger. So hold on. So just a tip for everyone here today, for both Android and even Android or iPhone. Let me just give you guys a tip. So this box here is what we call the adapter. This is what we plug into the wall. So the larger this box is, the more powerful it is, which means the faster your phone is going to charge. Usually iPads and laptops have, the larger box. And for some phones, right, you can't even plug it into the iPhone because it doesn't have the same port. But I would say, like I said, if your phone is a bit older, do not charger with an iPad charger. The good thing about this at the moment, you can't mix up iPhone with an Android because the chargers don't work for an Android to an iPhone, but that's going to change soon, especially if you have an iPhone 15 or above eventually when the 16 comes out. You could start using Android chargers to charge your phone. But if you have an iPhone 14 or 13, do not try to put an Android phone to charge. You're going to completely destroy your phone and mess it up. So usually, right, the box that it came with when you got your phone is the one you should get again if you need to get one on Amazon or so on. For me, I always get, Apple again. I don't really trust those Amazon ripoff ones. I just get the classic one on Apple if I need to. And usually it looks like this. So that's just like a tip, right? The larger the adapter is, the more powerful and faster it's going to charge your phone. But I wouldn't recommend getting a larger box if your phone is a bit older. Same with Android, right? They have larger boxes as well. If you know your Android is like a couple years old, do not get a larger adapter or box, whatever, however you want to call it. Any questions on that?
When you say the larger box, some of them are rectangular and some are like, so that part, the bigger that thing is, the charger is not the wire.
The adapter, the box is what's actually charging your phone. The rest is just like a wire that.
Oh.
Yeah, so as we see here on the screen, right? You can see how the boxes get larger and larger.
No, I don't see it.
Oh, you don't see the screen?
No, I see you, but how do I get to just see you?
Swipe the screen, Luciana.
Which way?
Try both ways.
Okay. So,
yeah,
because
so
this, you teach him more than when you did it in person. Remember when you did it last time? This, there is more information.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to
box
say, yeah, the box, the 20W is like the standard for like the newer iPhones, is usually fast charging. 70 and 96 would be way too powerful to put for older phones. You would actually mess up your battery. So I would recommend the 21. And there's even a smaller box, but I don't even think it's on the Apple store anymore. There's a box that's smaller than this one. And
I don't see it on the screen.
yeah, I don't see it here either.
Yeah. I'll bring it tomorrow the next day. Yeah. But my son has a newer phone, but his connection is not the same than mine. So
yeah, that's what I was explaining. The newer phones have a different connection. The person that has their hand raised, do you have a question? Okay. All right, let's just talk a little bit some battery myths, and then we're gonna go back to look at background app refresh. So does anyone here today have a battery saving app? I hope everyone shakes their head no to that question. So, right, there's obviously you could get an app on everything on your phone if you think about it, but battery saving apps are not genuine. They don't help save your battery in any shape or form. Battery saving apps is just a myth that people think it may help their battery, but it's not really doing anything. In a way, it could also just lead to viruses on your phone, slow down your phone. or it could just be the company itself trying to get your information for their newsletter and so on. So I would say, please tell your friends as well to never download a battery saving app. The only things that are going to save your battery are the things you're hearing today in this presentation, but an app cannot physically help your battery itself. Another thing is turning off Bluetooth. So you may have heard before that, oh, if you have to turn off Bluetooth because Bluetooth is going to constantly drain the battery. And if you hear from my Bluetooth class, then you probably have more understanding of it. But right, Bluetooth is a way to connect one device to another. So if I wanted to connect my iPhone to my headphones, I would use Bluetooth. If I want to connect my phone to the printer, that's using Bluetooth. If I want to connect my phone to Alexa or to a speaker, that's using Bluetooth. And Bluetooth is short radio waves. A short signal that after a certain amount of distance, the connection turns off. Or another example is connecting your phone to the car, if anyone here today drives. So turning off Bluetooth itself is not going to help save your battery, because when you think about it, we're not constantly connecting to these devices 24/7. And so let's do in the scenario of a car. We're not constantly in our car where our phone is connected to the car itself. The phone is not connected to the car. So just turning off Bluetooth itself is not going to save the battery. Eventually, when you step away from your car and you're in your house, right, the connection turns off on its own because the radio waves are very short, and after a certain amount of distance, the connection turns off. So turning off Bluetooth is not going to, give you a better boost of battery or save you another hour or so, because your phone is a very smart phone that knows when to turn off its connection when the two devices are not near each other anymore. Okay, Beth, you have a question?
Yes. What about the Wi-Fi? Is it better to turn it off when I go out?
So I would say turning off Wi-Fi. So it depends on like when you're going to use the Wi-Fi. So in the battery myths in this presentation, I would say turning off Wi-Fi is actually a bad thing to do, because Wi-Fi, especially Wi-Fi in your home, is going to save the battery life. Because when you think about it, everyone else is using those cellular towers like Verizon, AT&T, whatever your phone company is, whoever you pay the bill to Optimum. There's millions of people in New York using that network. When you're just using that singular Wi-Fi, that Wi-Fi in Starbucks, that Wi-Fi in your house, it's a small amount of people using that Wi-Fi connection. So in a way, it is better to keep Wi-Fi on. Wi-Fi is going to help save that battery.
Yeah, but if let's say there's that whole issue of like if I'm out and going for a walk, I don't need Wi-Fi.
Right. Yeah, if it's not, only use Wi-Fi, if you know it's a safe Wi-Fi, right? If you know,
Right.
you could trust it, right? If not, right, even if you have Wi-Fi turned on, it's never going to randomly connect to a Wi-Fi unless you give it permission to. So if you're out and about and your Wi-Fi is on, it's not going to randomly connect to a cafe's Wi-Fi unless you tapped on that and gave your phone permission to connect to it.
So it's not using up I guess the question is, does it use up some energy trying to connect to a Wi-Fi?
Um,
You don't
only,
think
oh
so?
yeah, I know, unless you are actually on the Wi-Fi page on your screen and trying to connect to one of the networks, then yes, it is going to waste battery. But if you're not doing that, then no.
I know I've been advised when I have a variety of problems on my iPad, the best thing to do is to turn off the Wi-Fi, leave it off for a very short period of time, and turn it back on, and then somehow it corrects itself. How does that work?
So yeah, I mean, if you are having problems with the Wi-Fi, it's kind of like that old solution when everything is not working. They say turn it off and turn it back on. Um, so basically when you turn off Wi-Fi and then you turn it back on, you're like refreshing your phone, trying to give it like a new boost. And you could do the same with putting your phone on airplane mode, because you're telling your phone to turn off all its signals and to turn it back on. Like you're giving your phone a reboot, the same that you would do like on a TV or when you reboot your computer. Basically, it's just like turning off the connection and returning it on to try to find it again. And I think, and one more person has their hand.
Excuse me, so you're saying that there are times when it's a good idea to turn off the Wi-Fi to be able to reboot, and that has
Yeah,
a positive effect.
I would say, like in my case, especially if you're someone here today that's you're in your apartment and you have Wi-Fi on, I could tell you right away that yes, having Wi-Fi on in your house is going to help save the battery. My phone's battery lasts way longer than using the Verizon network. So if you're in your home and you know you have safe Wi-Fi that you're paying for, please use your Wi-Fi. If you're out and about, of course, do not connect to random Wi-Fis to try to save battery. So I
Is
guess
it
what
a good idea to turn off, to put it on airplane mode? Because my son says the phone charges faster or not?
yeah, you could, yeah. If when you put your phone in airplane mode, you're basically shutting off everything, not getting no more messages, no more, you can't get phone calls, you can't get emails, right? Because you're basically shutting off all connections. So in a way, yes, it can make your phone charge faster because your phone is not doing anything but charging, right? Because it's not getting any messages from your friends. You can't make any phone calls and so on.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay, so let's just go back to this last page and talk about this topic, and then we can look at our battery health together. So this is just the last term that I wanted to discuss with everyone here today, which is background app refresh. So I just want to make sure. Can everyone see my screen where it says background app refresh?
Yes, I see it.
Yeah.
All right, so background app refresh is basically how our phone operates when we press on an app and we can quickly get information right away. So for example, right, if we are constantly, let's say, I don't know, maybe someone here uses Facebook, YouTube, Google, right? Think of an app that you use every single day. How all of a sudden, when we tap on that app, immediately we get the information in less than 5 seconds. Or when we press on YouTube, if anyone uses YouTube, in less than 10 seconds, they give us brand new videos that we can watch. All of that is because of background app refresh. And if we think about it, right, since our phones are so smart and so fast and they give us the information right away, in a way that is draining our battery, right? Just think about it. If our phone is constantly refreshing to give us the latest news, YouTube videos, our email, our text message, right? That's all happening in the background, even if we're doing something completely different, right? If we're on Zoom right now, all of us are on Zoom, but someone can still text us, right? We're still gonna get a text message from our friend. We're all on Zoom, but somebody can still call us right now. All of that has to do with our phone and background app refresh. So if all of this is happening in the background and we're all on Zoom together, right? This means that our phone is draining battery, even if we're not on YouTube right now, even if we're not emailing someone right now. Our phone is still draining a bit of battery because our phone is refreshing. So we can actually turn this feature off. And it is something I recommend to turn off, especially if you're someone that doesn't really need the email or the YouTube video right away. So turning background app refresh off does not mean that we will never get a text message again, that we will never get an email again. It does not mean that. All background app refresh means is that it's just going to take a little bit longer to show us the information when we tap on an app. It's going to take a little bit longer for the video to load. It's going to take a little bit longer for our email page to open up. And when I say a little bit longer, I do not mean 5 or 10 minutes. It's really just seconds almost that takes a bit longer. But if you're someone here today that's had a phone for like the past 5 years and your battery seems to always be dying, background app refresh is certainly a good thing to turn off to save your battery later on. Does anybody have questions on that before I actually show you how to find it? Hopefully that makes sense to everyone of what I just said. Okay, so let's just discuss background app refresh for Apple. So the first thing we're going to do is tap on the settings icon. You're going to find that. And I have a picture of it now on the screen, so you know exactly what app I'm talking about. After you tap on it, sorry, you're going to scroll down. Oh, sorry, I didn't have the picture for that. You're going to scroll down and click on General. So Settings, General. And in General, there is a section called Background App Refresh. And I have an arrow pointing to it on my screen. Once you click on it, you're probably going to get a list of all the apps you have downloaded on your iPhone, every single app. And if there's a green next to the app, that means it's turned on. So in this example here, this person has all of their apps to constantly refresh in the background when even if they're not using it. And if you even read in the fine print, if you're looking at it on your phone with me, it even says turning off apps may help preserve battery life. So I wasn't joking about how it could help save your battery. So what I would recommend is if you look at all your apps that you have, some people might have games on their phone. They might have an app that they rarely use, they only use sometimes, right? But you still need to have it on your phone. Think of apps that you don't really use every single day. If you have an app like that on your phone, the best thing to do is just turn it off. You don't need that app constantly refreshing and taking up battery life in the background. So for me personally, I kind of have everything turned off. I mean, I only have like one or two apps, like I have like Uber turned on because in case when I'm out and about, I just want to have that page open up faster. I have like Twitter because I constantly go on Twitter, but everything else, I kind of have it turned off because I don't need like Amazon constantly refreshing in the background. I don't need like Chick-fil-A, Duolingo. Like there's some apps that I do not need to be constantly refreshing in the background. Does that make sense to people here today? I'm gonna show also Android in a moment, but does that make a little sense?
Yes, it does. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes.
Is
Thank
this also true of iPads?
Yes, you could also find the same page on iPad. So once again, if you go to settings, general, background app refresh, you will also find it on your iPad.
Yes, makes sense, Tabitha.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so let's do Android now. Android, it's a bit longer to get there, so we're going to make sure you guys find it. And if you don't find it, I have another page as well, depending on the type of Android you have. So I have two ways to find it for you guys, so I can make sure that I get it for you guys. So once again, you want to go to settings. And for some people here today, hold on, let me just make sure. Yeah, settings. Okay. For some people, we're all going to go for settings for Android. But for some people, you're going to scroll down and find apps or apps and notifications. I'm going to show you guys this way, and then I'm going to show you guys another way in case the first way you can't find it, okay? Because I don't know what type of Android phones everyone has here today, and I want to make sure I include everybody. So we're going to go to settings, and then we're going to scroll down, and we're going to tap on either the word apps or apps and notifications. After we tap on that, and we find that, the next thing we're going to do is we're probably going to see a list of all the apps we have on our phone, right? And I want you guys to just click on any of the app. It doesn't matter which one you choose. It's going to have the option. So, for example, if you have Amazon, tap on Amazon. And once you tap on the app that you choose, you're going to want to find mobile data and Wi-Fi. So once again, you will only see this once you tap on the app. You get a list of apps and you have to tap on one. I'm gonna go a bit slower. Okay, once you tap on mobile data and Wi-Fi, you should have a section where you can turn off and turn on background data. So background data and background app refresh are the same exact thing. They just call it differently on both an Android and an iPhone. Blue, if the button is blue, it means that background data is on. Gray means that it is off. And unfortunately, right, like with the iPhones, you had a screen where you could just do it at the same time. But with Android, you have to go one by one and click on each of the apps. Go to mobile data and Wi-Fi, and then background data. So it takes a bit longer, but it still exists on the Android and you can still do it. And if you did not see that, right, I'm gonna make sure that I also say this. If you did not see that, another way that you can find it, if you want to write it down, is if you go to settings, connections, data usage. Settings, then connections, data usage. Once you tap on data usage, there's going to be a section called mobile data usage, where you can see all your apps and then you can turn off background data. And once again, you have to go to each app and follow these steps. So depending on the phone you have, hopefully you found it. If not, you know, I could try to find another instructions for you guys, but I try to find both these ways. Any questions from Android people? All right, I'm gonna assume that you guys found it, but you could always say it in the chat if you didn't, okay?
I have a question back to the Apple instructions.
Yes.
When I opened up that app refresh,
Mm-hmm.
I saw the list of apps, and I actually saw apps that I don't even know I have. How do I find them and get rid of them?
So, with an iPhone, if you just swipe all the way to the, well, you have to leave the settings app. On the screen where you see all your apps, if you swipe left and keep swiping, you'll get to a section called App Library, and you will have almost kind of like a little boxes of like all your apps that you have. And at the top, it will say App Library. And if you tap on it, it'll give you a list in alphabetical order of all the apps you have downloaded on your phone. And then you could see what you have and delete them and so on.
I'm sorry, I kind of missed the first step, which is where do I go to even find them?
So if you swipe left on your
On
phone,
what? Just
um,
anywhere on my desktop?
are you talking about your desktop?
No, I'm talking about the desktop on the phone, you know, the the screen.
Yeah, so on the screen where you see your apps,
Well, okay.
like the home screen where you see
Right.
like
Got it.
the apps that you have on your phone, you
Oh, I
swipe,
see.
you swipe left all the way until you get to a screen that says App Library.
Got it. All right. I've never seen that before. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we only have a minute left, so I don't know. We probably won't get to it, but just to let everyone know, hold on. Because I promised I would show everybody. Okay. So everyone here today that has an iPhone, because I promised I'd show you guys, right? If you went to your settings, you clicked on battery, and then you went to battery health, the number next to maximum capacity is the number your physical battery has left in it. So in this example that you see on this page, this person has 93%. So that's a pretty good charge. right? This is not the actual charge that she has, you know, throughout the day, right? Our phone goes from 100% to 0%. Maximum capacity is our physical battery in our phone. So think of like the batteries you put in the remote. You know how eventually those batteries are going to die? Well, this person, their battery degraded from when they got their phone. Everyone gets their phone and their maximum capacity is 100%. But through the years, the capacity goes lower. So in this example, this person has 93%, but you all can go on your iPads and iPhones and check to see what your maximum capacity is. And if it's lower than 80%, you can go to the Apple store and get it replaced for a charge, of course. It's not for free, unfortunately. For Androids, they do not have a number. It just says like good or okay or perfect. It doesn't have a number like iPhones. So usually so my phone is on 81%, which is why I'm gonna get the new iPhone next month. I have my phone for already 4 years. So for some people, they may have a amazing number, like 96%, 97%. It's really good if you had your phone for years and your number's still in the 90s. That means you're really good at using your phone and charging your phone very well. And you probably have done all the tips that I had said today in the presentation. But if it is, like if your phone is like on 80% or something, that's probably why your phone takes a long time to, your phone's battery always dies so quickly, because your maximum capacity is no longer in the 90s or 100 anymore. And it says it there in the fine print, right? Lower capacity may result in fewer hours of usage. So the lower the number that you have here, the less your phone is going to keep its battery. That's why it dies so quickly, because your maximum capacity is probably a low number. All right. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone, and you could check what your battery is.